In Dungeons & Dragons, is it possible for you and 2,000 of your closest friends to use some items you find lying around the house to destroy the world-ending BBEG in just one round? Yes, it is. Let's talk about the Peasant Railgun. Now, if you've spent any amount of time in the D&D community, you've probably seen memes, stories, or even other YouTube videos about something called the Peasant Railgun. It was first created back in 2008 on 4chan because of course it was. The Peasant Railgun is the love child between physics and rules mechanics to create a massively powerful and fast kinetic projectile that can punch a hole in the toughest of enemies. It can also break the game and your DM's will to live. The basic concept is you take a pair of parallel rail-shaped conductors and a small armature as a projectile. Using electromagnetic forces, generate... Okay, that's way too complicated. Here's a simple version. Step 1, you get a line of peasants. About 2,000 will work, but you can always do more or less, and you have them stand in a row, each one about 5 feet from the other. Step 2, you get a large projectile like a broom, a spear, or even a disassembled ladder, and you put it in the very back of the line. Step 3, you make the action economy go cry in the corner. On their turn in combat, each person in the line has a readied action that as soon as the projectile is placed in their hands, they pass it to the person in front of them all the way down the line. So here's an example. A line of peasants stretching across the battlefield. The object starts at the back of the line and each peasant moves it forward on their turn. The real magic kicks in when you realize that a round of combat only takes 6 seconds, and everyone's actions, no matter how many people are on the battlefield, all of those actions happen during the same 6 seconds. So this projectile gets moved 2 miles in about 6 seconds, meaning that it's going about 1.5 times the speed of sound. So by the time the projectile gets to the end of the line, it's moving at an incredible speed and is then flung at the target. Now the question begs, should you do this in your game of D&D? Probably not, unless you want to go shopping for a new Dungeon Master. But the look on their face when you pull it off might be worth it. However, there are a few caveats to consider. First, there is no official ruling on whether or not this ridiculous strategy would work in D&D, but in the 2024 version of the Dungeon Master's Guide, in Chapter 1, there is this little tidbit. The rules of the game are meant to provide a fun game experience, not to describe the laws of physics in the worlds of D&D. Let alone the real world. Don't let players argue that a bucket brigade of ordinary people can accelerate a spear to light speed by using the ready action to pass the spear to the next person in line. The ready action facilitates heroic action. It doesn't define the physical limitations of what can happen in a 6-second combat round. So it's really funny to see Wizards of the Coast finally weigh in on the Peasant Railgun, even though a little bit subtly. However, this isn't a strict forbiddance of this strategy because earlier in that same chapter, they have this to say. D&D is a game and everyone should have fun playing it. Everyone shares equal responsibility in moving the game along, and everyone contributes to the fun when they treat each other with respect and consideration, talking through disagreements among players or their characters, and remembering that arguments or mean-spirited squabbles can get in the way of fun. Basically, this is a way of saying the rule of cool, that if your DM is down with it and this is the ridiculous kind of campaign you're running, go for it. I mean, it's not like Wizards of the Coast is going to come knock at your door asking to see your railgun permit. So that's the Peasant Railgun. It's just a fun example of what can happen when you take the logical conclusions of the rules of D&D to their uttermost limit and beyond, and probably break the universe. But it's still a fun thought experiment to consider, and there are many more like it. Now, have you ever used the Peasant Railgun? If so, let me know down in the comments, or any other wild things in D&D or other games you'd like me to cover. This is a new kind of video I'm trying out, so let me know if you like it by hitting the like button, leaving a comment, or just subscribing to the channel. All of it really encourages me to make more of these kinds of things. So until next time, may the dice be ever in your favor.